Hello and welcome. I'm Ian Unger.
And I'm Logan Flaming.
And together we host the Ultimate Fan Podcast, the show where the greatest fans discuss the greatest in entertainment across the universe. This episode, we're continuing ahead with our review of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, hitting the Incredible Hulk. That's the next one in the lineup. Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah.
It was released in 2008, shortly after Iron Man, and we're giving it our official review and ranking in the MCU today. And also we have a very special guest with us again for the second time, our friend Kevin Shunk.
Hello.
Yeah, he was with us, if you remember, on our first episode reviewing Black Panther with us. So we're excited to have him back. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you just watched the movie with us.
I had to endure that movie. But
Yeah.
Besides that,
I mean-
I'm okay.
Just to tip the scales the other direction. It wasn't horrible.
It's not the worst film ever.
And it's not.
It's
It's,
not
just
even-
MCU bad.
Yeah, it's not even
It's MCU
a
bad.
bad film.
But
Yeah.
when you have to start it out by saying it's not the worst film ever, that's still a bad way to start. Like,
Yeah.
It's true.
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of playing both sides in this episode.
Yeah, we'll just be honest right out. I'll be honest at the front. I'm going to have to try hard not to just bash it the whole time.
There is good things.
There's good things about
Yes,
it, like things
yeah.
you can pick out.
And
but,
I'll say
yeah.
I enjoyed quite a few moments. I think we're also a little spoiled. So, like, we're going to start this
100%.
whole conversation, by talking about if we can remember our first experience viewing the film, like back when it was first released, and then we'll talk about our expectations or maybe how we felt going in this time. And admittedly, a part of that is we have gotten used to a certain level of quality with MC. We were talking
And
about
tone.
it. Yeah, we've gotten
Visually.
used to them batting 1,000, like where everyone we can expect to be a home run, and making over $200 million in the box office.
Just varying levels of home runs.
Yeah, but so it's kind of hard to go back and watch something like this.
Because it's a different era.
Yeah.
And it shows.
It does show.
Let's get into it.
Do you think it aged well?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
Yeah. Do you think you enjoy it? Okay, so let's talk about that. First time viewing experiences. Kevin, I think you're the oldest of the three of us. I remember my first time, and it was in the theater.
Yeah.
How about you?
Same in the theater. When I first saw it, or when I was getting ready to see it, I remember being excited because Iron Man had come out, and they're starting this. This is back before all this was happening, so it's hard to think back to a time when the Avengers wasn't a thing. But it's that excitement of like, are they really going to do this? Are they actually going to bring all these characters together? Because that really had never really been done before in a really good way. Also, I had seen the Hulk before this. It was the 2003 one.
Ang Lee's Hulk.
That one is terrible.
Yes, it's much worse.
Yeah, so coming off of that, my initial impression of this movie was that it was awesome. Because anything after that movie was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then also with them tying in all the, extended universe stuff and, Iron Man showing up at the end, that was cool for me at the time. And, hasn't aged well, but at the time, it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I think I remember similar feelings. I was like 14 when I saw this movie, like 13, 14. And we went, I think it was like, I remember all the guys in my family going to, like my grandpa, my uncles, like my dad, all like my cousins. Like it was something we all did together on a day or something. And I remember being pumped. It was cool. It was a great movie theater experience. But, now I'm kind of like, also, I don't remember. We kind of chatted about this when we were talking about Iron Man, but maybe it was different for you. At the time, I was unaware of, like, the whole connected universe thing. So, like, that little end credit scene where Tony Stark shows up, I remember in the theater, that being the first time where I was like, wait a second, these movies are connected? I wasn't...
think at the end of Iron Man, when they showed Nick Fury coming in, that's when, for me, it really clicked of what they were trying to do. And I didn't know that they'd actually be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I definitely got that vibe that they're trying to make something. And it was all over the internet, everyone talking about what it would be and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of people forget this, but there was a lot of doubt of Avengers, that Avengers could pull it off.
Oh
It
yeah,
just came out.
oh yeah.
There was so much there's so many characters. How are they going to bring them all together? They're all left in like varying states of stuff by the end of the film. By the end of each of their films, like Thor's stuck on Asgard. Like there's lots of different things to take care of. How are they all going to do that and provide a satisfying film? But now we just live like in an Avengers universe. Like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Team movies like that can work.
Yeah, we believe in it.
And you had X-Men going on too, which was kind of doing the same thing.
That's just a team movie. It's not really bringing a bunch of different things together.
That's true, but it was a lot of big stars all in a movie together. And they were doing it well.
People forget how stacked that original X-Men cast
Yeah,
is.
I mean, those are incredible people in that movie. So, yeah, they did it well. And so there was hope that it could be done here, but no one had just seen it yet.
Yeah. How about, do you remember your first viewing experience?
I think I saw half of it on TV once.
Really?
Wow.
And then saw the other half of it on TV once.
Oh, man.
And
That's right, because you weren't into it until Captain America.
I was 12 when this movie came out. I'm a baby. I'm the baby of the podcast, easily.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm like, when I first watched it, I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. I really like this. I like the kind of the darker vibe, darker visual tone. And then I came back and watched it probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, I really like this. This is really cool. I think I really like Edward Norton's take on Bruce Banner.
Also,
but coming back to this now, everyone can talk. We can get into expectations here pretty soon, but I was expecting to like this way more than I did.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like, I remember at the time, I was like, I saw Edward Norton, and I remembered the original, and like the guy who played Bruce Banner looked like this like high school. He looked like a college.
Eric Bana?
Huh?
You talking about Eric Banner's Bruce Wayne? I mean Bruce Banner. In
Bruce
the original
Banner?
Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I say Bruce Wayne?
No, I said Bruce Wayne, but I was talking. Are you talking about Eric Banner?
Yeah. I'm talking about the Bruce Banner from Hulk.
Yeah.
He looked like he could have played Superman. He looked like a college linebacker. He really
did.
And I just remember almost nothing from the storyline of that movie except for Nick Nolte being a weird villain.
Nick Nolte's in that movie?
Yes, he's the bad guy. And
I like
he's
Nick
Bruce
Nolte.
Banner's father. I don't.
It was a weird
Yeah.
movie. This was also when Edward Norton was big. Like, I think he's kind of
coming off like The Illusionist.
Yeah. Like he was the big name.
The Illusionist,
in
the
movies.
Italian Job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Edward Norton was a bigger
like,
thing.
Ooh, Edward Norton's in this. I want to go see it because he's a cool new actor.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We showed that like original poster from the time, like the theater's poster where
I love that
it shows
poster.
like Hulk and him standing back to back where he's front and center, but you see like Hulk silhouetted behind him and he's like huge and massive and takes up the whole
Great
poster.
poster.
Like, yeah,
Great
It's
poster.
pretty iconic.
Yeah.
yeah, it got you excited for the film, and I think at the time. So talk about dating. Do you guys know when X-Men 3 came out? Last Stand?
Was it 2006, 2005?
Yeah, 2 years before this, 2006.
Wow.
And so we were talking about kind of the visual effects and stuff, and kind of how
That
they're
movie's
dated.
special effects are not the best by any movie, and by any standards, but I think they're better than this movie's.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's what I was just
definitely.
gonna say.
But that was like concluding the trilogy. They knew they were going to throw money at it. This was a kind of a more beginning of a trilogy, and they never had as much money in the beginning of not a trilogy per se, but the beginning of the saga.
Plus the last movie didn't perform that well either. So there's not.
So they weren't going to throw a whole bunch of money.
I'm going to pull up. I'm going to Google the both the movies' budgets back to back real quick. Yeah. So X-Men: Last Stand is an expensive movie. That's $210 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super expensive. That's like Avengers level money right there.
Speaking of another disappointing movie, X-Men 3.
I hate that movie. Straight up.
X-Men 2 was so good. And
X-Men 2 is awesome. Still like in my top 10 of
million
superhero
for
movies of all
Hulk.
time.
For
150
Hulk.
million?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a significant drop down.
Yeah. I mean, it was okay for the time, the special effects. It was also, again, the same
It
thing.
was a step up from the movie that came before this.
Better than the movie before. So you're like, oh, look at how much cooler it is than this other crappy movie.
Yeah. And I think that
and
was
I like the
also-
general vibe of the design, like the longer hair.
Yes.
I do like the concept that was going for.
More true to the comic books. The Hulk looked more like his comic book
He was
self.
freaking ripped
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
I
I liked
actually
all of that.
enjoy like how sinewy he is.
And I think Bruce Banner looks
Sinewy.
more like the comic book Bruce Banner.
Mm-hmm.
I vibed on that the whole time. In fact, when I learned that, like, when Avengers came around and I learned that they were getting a new Bruce Banner. That was something I was concerned about going into Avengers.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
like,
everybody was.
why did you need to change him? Like, Edward Norton looked great. He acted great. Like,
but now we all love him.
speaking from now, I love
now we're
Mark
all like,
Ruffalo's
he's
performance.
the Hulk. No
I
one
will
remembers
say,
Edward Norton.
I think Edward Norton looks more like comic book Bruce Banner. But
I would agree with that.
Performance-wise,
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
having rewatched, I think when I watched this film as like a 14-year-old, I probably was just eating up the fact that it was a comic book Hulk movie, and like I probably loved the action. I probably loved seeing him fight Abomination. I was probably just like, this is awesome. I can't believe I'm seeing this on screen, and it's so much better than the last one. I probably didn't care. I didn't notice like the poor plot jumps or.
I mean, do you ever really notice stuff like that on the first time you see a movie? Like,
it depends on the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on the movie, your age, your
Or
expectations.
if it's a DC movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Point taken.
Except for one of them. So wait, let's get into just our general thoughts on the movie.
Yeah. Well, did you have so do you got Logan kind of when we went to view it this time, did we have high expectations, low expectations?
Ooh.
Because so for me, it's probably been a solid like 3 or 4 years since I've seen this.
Same.
Yeah.
More like 4 or 5 for me.
Yeah, more like longer than that.
Yeah.
Since it came out, maybe. Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
it more recently than that, but
I had very low expectations.
yeah,
I
you didn't remember
remembered-
liking it.
I remembered liking it, but I remembered the quality of what it was compared to what we've seen today.
Yeah.
So I knew that rewatching this movie I told you guys, I'm like, I hate this movie.
Yeah.
It is the worst. But I came in expecting very, very little.
Yeah.
And was, pretty much met my expectations.
Yeah, I came in like expecting just this whole MCU rewatch. I'm expecting to watch these movies like Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Incredible Hulk, Thor: The Dark World. I was expecting to go into them and be like, man, this is better than I remember, and like enjoy the movies more. But with Incredible Hulk, that was definitely not the case for me. I was like, man, this movie isn't as good as I want it to be and as I remember it. And it's kind of really bad in certain parts. Unfortunately, I really wanted to like this movie like as much as I did before, but watching it now, it's just like, yikes. It's dull. It's very dull.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot happens. To compare like this to The Last Jedi, in 40 minutes of The Last Jedi, we get way more of a movie than Incredible Hulk gives us in its entire runtime.
Yeah, seriously, in 2 hours, like, my gosh,
Very slow paced, like
There's some really cheesy moments.
cheesy moments.
It's slow paced, but it's
Bland
almost like
characters.
it doesn't know what kind of movie it's trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they didn't exactly know what they wanted to do or where they were going to go with stuff. So
Yeah.
just like kind of plodding along from thing to thing. Yeah,
I was trying to look up some of the history of like from a production standpoint and how interconnected. So Kevin Feige is on board at this point, right? He's like a creative head.
You should tell the audience who Kevin Feige is in case they don't know who Kevin Feige is.
You guys don't know who Kevin Feige is?
I mean, Kevin and I know.
You can probably
know.
Kevin Feige is kind of the lead visionary and the creative
Executive
head
producer
of
at Marvel Studios.
Yeah. So he's the one who's kind of pioneered the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it, and kind of been the one to drive the ship or captain the ship and say, this is the course, this is where we're going. If you know about the Marvel Cinematic Universe has what's called phases. So like phase 1 started with Iron Man and led all the way up to Avengers. And then post-Avengers is phase 2, quote-unquote, kind of leading up to Age of Ultron. And now we're in, like, phase 3 currently.
Phase 2, I believe, ended with Ant-Man.
Oh, did it?
I believe so.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
Ant-Man is the last one there.
I believe so.
Even
Don't
though it
quote
came
me on
out
that.
after Ultron?
Yes.
It's kind of, yeah, so it's kind of
If
broken
I'm
up.
wrong, send your emails to ultimatefanpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
such vision to like.
Yeah.
I would've loved,
rich vision.
like to be in those meetings when they're talking about before this all happened. When they're talking about, all right, here's where we're gonna go with this. Like to do something like to really plan out something like that. It's incredible what they've done. Like it's so. Like,
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think now though, the thing about Marvel and where it's come is we're seeing the product of of projects that worked and like the money kind of building up. We're seeing like the effects of Disney having like bought the franchise and like having more kind of like the ownership under one roof and what that's done, because we're seeing more cohesive storylines and more interconnectedness between the movies than we see in like, I tell you what, watching Iron Man back to back with the Incredible Hulk, I think them coming out of the time, I would have assumed they were just like any other Marvel superhero movie, like the X-Men or Iron Man or I don't know.
They didn't have that. They didn't have that thing that made them
together.
Yeah, like to tie them all together.
Iron Man had that. It's obviously like the blueprint and basis for what the MCU is to become. But Incredible Hulk doesn't have the same visual tone, the same like tone of story.
Do you know what it feels like? It feels like what DC has been doing for the last couple of years.
It honestly does feel like that.
Which is funny because we throw a lot of shade at DC for taking forever to get traction, but
there are definitely places in Phase 1 where you can see just some growing pains.
Yeah.
You can see that in Phase 2
with
their director issues. Age of Ultron's Thor bath scene is an example of some missteps of trying to worry too much about the future of the story instead of actually getting to where we need to, focusing on the story that we're telling now.
100%
also,
agree.
there just if there's any question, there isn't a scene in Age of Ultron where Thor's taking a bath.
Well, I'm referring to when he goes
into the cave and he gets in the water and he has a vision.
That's what I call it. Thor's
like,
bathing.
dang it, where's the soap?
We're gonna have viewers like me, like Age of Ultron. When is there a scene about Thor taking a bath? We're gonna have all the people who are looking for eye candy.
Yeah,
like.
It would probably be more entertaining. I would rather watch Chris Hemsworth trying to take a shower and just being funny than probably most of this movie. That sounds more entertaining to me.
All right.
No, Thor trying to figure out an Earth shower would be funny.
That would be great.
What is this contraption? Yeah. The water's cold. The water's cold.
All right, let's get into the movie.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Let's talk about the prologue.
Okay,
and how bad it is.
Again, I think it's a thing.
That's honestly my least favorite part of the movie is the prologue.
Yeah, mine too.
It's just so.
Which is funny,
visually.
Coming after Black Panther, like just coming out from
how cool that prologue is.
That prologue is, like how incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then to this, where it's like, oh, that is
Thor
so
has
bad.
a decent prologue too.
Yes,
yeah.
like
But it's like, what were they doing? I think it's just the creative, like it felt like it was just this director's vision of like what a Hulk movie could be.
It feels very individual to this director's like vision of how they wanted to start this movie, and it looks extremely dated and extremely bad.
I think that's the thing. It's like
there's some really awkward shots in there.
Yeah, and
like of General Ross like putting his hand up with like blood on it. It just looks,
it's like a
the whole
opera.
It's like the first person perspective of the Hulk thing does not work for me in that prologue.
Yeah.
And also, if you're someone who doesn't know anything about Hulk, this isn't going to tell you anything.
No,
like,
it's
you're
just
gonna be
confusing
confused
as frick.
the whole time. You're like, what just happened? Like, obviously, usually people would have knowledge of Hulk, but still, like, it's just so bad at explaining anything that's going on.
Yeah. So it turns out this is supposed to be like sort of a soft sequel, or what do you like? A loose sequel of the Hulk movie from 2003.
Spiritual successor.
Yeah. So apparently, maybe they're just taking it for granted that you viewers of this movie have gone and seen that film and already kind of know the like how Hulk comes to be type.
But that is kind of safe to assume for the time because it was only like 5 years apart.
Yeah,
that's like if Amazing Spider-Man skipped the origin story and didn't tell it.
Which it didn't need to. Yeah. I don't think.
Which everyone agrees.
Yeah. I think it could have easily skipped that.
Yeah. And also, Hulk doesn't have a very interesting origin story.
I think told the right way.
Told the right way, it could be interesting. I feel
but
like it's not as cool
if we take that scene from Indiana Jones where he's on the nuclear test site. That's good. That's Hulk.
I was thinking more like Spider-Man 2, Dr. Octopus. When like he becomes the bad, like that's.
Oh, that's so
I feel
good.
like if they could have done that with Hulk, that would have been really cool.
I love
like,
Doc Ock.
I'll tell you what, all the Raimi Spider films like do a good job. Okay, you know
Venom.
This what says something. Well, apart from Venom, I think actually like the weakest one is Venom, followed by Norman.
Yeah, honestly.
His like lab scene. I like his stuff in the mansion when he's like
I love the
freaking out.
schizophrenia stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But like,
great stuff.
man,
So good.
say what you want about Spider-Man 3. But the
Sandman.
the Sandman
You care
origin
about
scene,
Sandman.
Yeah.
that is an incredible piece of footage.
You care about like him and his daughter.
That's again making you care about the villains. That's
and I love the scene where he's like trying to put himself back together in the sand.
Yeah, it's so
Incredible.
good.
All right, let's get back to this.
But back to
movie.
Hulk.
So talking about the period that this film came out, 2008. So we've got the Bourne films flying around here, and when we were talking about this while we were watching the movie, it's just like the first first half of this film feels like Man on the Run, espionage, just a Jason Bourne vibe. You can tell by like the text, like the text font.
Yes.
They're like,
little,
Washington D.C. Pentagon.
Yeah.
Like it's straight up a copy of the Bourne font.
And it's more than it's just the way it's shot, the cinematography, like the narrow side streets, the running through places.
This guy
tight,
with a hoodie and a backpack, and he's running
cuts.
like
Running for the military. Starting to the military, like spying on
also
Jason
the
Bourne
colors.
character.
It's very blue. It's very
gray.
Just the very devoid of color. Like it just follows that to a T.
So it's there, and then, but like in that opening prologue, viewers, if you haven't seen it recently, it's like this montage over the underneath the credits of like producer, and it's this montage of Hulk's origin, but then it's also overlaid with like this story of like Ross is hunting Hulk and flashes of files and computers and him running away and airplanes, and then Nick Fury's name comes across like a folder.
And that's one of my problems with this movie. It feels like, oh wait, this movie's in the MCU, so we're going to digitally add in certain things like Stark Industry logos or like Nick Fury's name or like the SHIELD logo to like try and tie this film in, when honestly it doesn't feel tied into the universe. Even though it references like the Avengers references this movie. Like Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner's like, last time I was in New York, I broke Harlem. Like, even though like that stuff is in there, this movie doesn't straight up feel connected to the MCU. I used to think it did feel more connected than it does, but it doesn't. And if it wasn't in the MCU, I honestly wouldn't lose any sleep.
And you know what? Looking back now, like, we were talking about this. I was initially upset about the like casting change, and it's not that I think Edward Norton was terrible. I actually really like him.
I used to like Edward Norton's Bruce Banner a lot more than I did. Like, I honestly, coming to this movie, I'm like, man, I really like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, but like, what if like Edward Norton's Bruce Banner was in the Avengers? Like, I thought like he brought in like a dark soul to the character that's what I remembered from this. But coming back to this, he's extremely flat in one note.
Super flat.
Yes.
Actually, I think most of the characters.
Most of the characters,
he just has like one look where he's just like brooding and just like staring at the camera, and it's like that's all he does though. Like the whole movie,
his line delivery is pretty much the same,
and he doesn't have very much dialogue. Really, it reminds me of like Henry Cavill in Man of Steel. Like I don't feel like I feel like I don't get to know either Bruce Banner in this movie or like Clark Kent in that movie because they just straight up don't talk a lot.
You feel like the Hulk, you understand more of him.
I honestly
Bruce
do,
Banner. Because he shows more emotion even.
Honestly, a fake character shows more emotion than Edward Norton in this movie.
Here's the thing: is I'll say like even it doesn't even necessarily have to be the dialogue, because you take a Jason Bourne film where he doesn't have a ton of dialogue in that, but we see just the way that the movie is shot and the way that like it's scripted and written, we see him figuring stuff out and his reactions to different situations that show us his character. In this, it's like like what you're saying, Kevin, same deadpan kind of like,
and he doesn't change. There's no evolution. There's no building.
What is the character's arc in this movie?
Yeah, there is no character arc. He ends the same way as he began. Almost. There is a scene at the end, and we're jumping ahead.
And the movie just ends.
Yeah, but then it ends before you get to see how that change really happens. Yeah.
Yeah, his greatest growth is in relation to the Hulk, but it's nothing compared to what we're seeing in Ragnarok right now,
or even Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Like there's so much done between the Bruce Banner and the Hulk relationship,
or
Avengers too.
Yeah, definitely.
And those are team movies balancing so many different characters and different plot points. And this movie is its own thing, committed to the Hulk character, but it actually does very little with Hulk or Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
It's not important.
Yeah, like you get to the end of the movie and there's nothing has changed. Basically everything's the same as where it was at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. So, like, I know that there That's what I was going to say. Is I know that there were differences of like I think it was in his contract, like Edward Norton wanted to get paid more, that kind of stuff, and so there was that reason for hiring a new actor. But at the same time, I like that we got Ruffalo. We stuck with Ruffalo. And it feels like a clean break from this movie. Not to delete it from the universe, but to just be like, this is the direction we're going with now. We know like the tone and what we want, and
I feel like Edward Norton wouldn't have fit with the tone they're going for.
Not now, not anymore.
Now that we understand what they're trying to do with the movie and where it was going, he just would have stood out.
And I actually think when we go to see
he would have brought down the team dynamic.
Yeah, definitely.
I think when we go to see Iron Man 2, because we were talking about this in the last podcast with Iron Man, I think we'll see how we saw different elements of Iron Man's character and how they're going to focus in on. We're going to see more of the Tony that we know and love today because they started to narrow in on what they're looking for.
Ragnarok is an example of this.
Yeah, with Hulk.
To a lesser extent, like where there's things about the first two Thor movies that we like, and then there's things that we don't. And that movie just jettisons them for something way more entertaining.
Definitely.
And Avengers does that for Hulk on an even greater level than Ragnarok does for Thor and his universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's...
DC, take notes. Jettison what doesn't work and move on.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck.
We'll pause the Bash Fest for a minute. Let's try.
I feel bad, but it's honestly how I feel.
We're
trying
you
can
to
ask
honest.
Kevin and Ian. I was way more optimistic about this movie going in.
That's true.
I'll say I was probably in the middle of the road between you two guys. I knew compared to like other films, it wasn't going to stack up, and I didn't think it was going to age well. But I also remembered having a good experience the first time I saw it.
I did too.
Hey, will you pass me my water bottle?
Of course.
Thank you. But anyways, let's try. Not even try. You know what? We're going to be optimistic. Let's talk about the things we like about this movie.
Okay.
All right.
I like the Days Without Incident like timestamps.
Yeah.
Those are cool. I really
One
enjoy
of my
those.
favorite things too.
Yeah. I really like those. Are a cool touch.
So in the movie, every now and then in the corner, it'll show a little font pops up and it says Days Without Incident, and then it shows like how long it's been since Bruce Banner has gone into the Hulk, and like that's really cool. I think that shows like part of his character, and they use it as a story device, like all the way up to the end. Like,
it really worked for this movie
Yeah.
with the tone they had. It did really work for them. I don't know if they could have done it in future movies and have it work the same way, but in this movie, I think it really did do something to help it.
I really enjoy how this movie like broadens the legacy of the super soldier serum.
Yeah,
and how it's evolved in the MCU,
which I totally forgot from my first viewing.
Yeah.
So now that I'm seeing it again, I see that now. I'm like, wow,
that's the one MCU connection I really like.
Yeah, that was good.
It gives credence to Captain America, which is going to come out like a few years after this.
Yeah,
and to me, it like increases the importance of what that character is and what that character achieves.
Definitely.
I really like that. Let's see what else. The final fight scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really enjoy. There's some really stuff I like in there. I think the CGI in that final fight scene in New York is better than most of the Hulk CGI in the rest of the movie and like the rest of the action, which there isn't a whole lot of. But I think that's where seems like most of the special effects budget went, and it's still kind of like it's dodgy at times, the quality of visual effects. But there's some really cool stuff in there, like when Abomination and Hulk are first facing off.
Yeah,
on the streets of New York, and there's like just those standing shots of those characters
kind of facing off.
Yeah, I feel like those shots look really good. But then when the fight gets towards the end, and they're like fighting in that like on the top of that building or roof thing, whatever that is, that's when it gets a little video gamey cutscene.
Yeah,
I like it when he ripped the car in half, and
that's a cool moment.
Like that's everyone loves that part.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
There are some pretty cool like just superhero moments where you're just like. Yeah, just like I want to see that.
Yeah,
like
I mean, what fan doesn't want to see the Hulk beat the crap out of someone his own size?
Yeah, and it's the most entertaining part of the movie.
Yeah,
yeah. It felt honestly. Okay, nope. We're talking about good things.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The interplay between Edward Norton and Liv Tyler, it was cute. Like it worked.
I think they sell that they had a very intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Before this, and I think they sell their intimacy well throughout the rest of the movie.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Even though I think their chemistry is better than the actual dialogue and the writing.
Yes, that's what I was going to... So we talked about, like, when we were watching it, that scene, they're, like, in a hotel room, and it's, like, the almost sex scene where the dialogue in that whole hotel room scene, like, all of it, because there's more to it than just their little, like, lovey-dovey moment. It's pretty cheesy. It's pretty weak. It's like people don't talk like that in real life. But all of their actions, like all the ways that they're like, the ways that they like are physically with each other,
the way they look at each other,
the
way they
look at each other. There's a soul there that I remembered. When I watched this film, and I'm glad to find that it's still there, even though it wasn't as good as I remember, but it's still good.
Yeah, that bridge scene. So we all like that moment where he goes into this pizzeria where he's kind of held up, and the
guy's name is Stanley. We'll save that part for later.
Yeah. Also, so she walks in with her like current boyfriend, by accident, coincidentally,
who happens to be Doc Samson from the comics and Ty Burrell from Modern Family.
Oh yeah, I didn't know he's in Modern Family. Mm-hmm. So Doc Samson in the comics, he's a member of the Hulkbuster team. He's got like a big green ponytail. He fights.
I think he's
Hulk
Native American too.
He might be, yeah. But anyways, she finds him, and it's like this, like almost like she's seeing a ghost scene. That's believable. And then she questions the pizzeria guy. She goes and finds him in the rain. He
looks like Albert
on
Einstein.
A bridge. He looks straight up like Albert Einstein. But I like that bridge scene. You know, they get reconnected.
Are you talking about when they're in the rain?
Yeah, they're in the rain.
Yeah, I love that scene.
You see a woman who, like, she was ready to marry a man, and he was, like, unexpectedly taken from her in a tragedy, and almost like she believed him to be dead.
And she's forced herself to move on.
Yeah, she's forced herself to move on, but then imagine, like, seeing him come back to life. And I feel that conveyed in the scene.
You just described Castaway.
Oh, yeah.
Except that turned out very differently than this movie did.
Yeah, Tom Hanks.
I think it's really important, the fact that we believe these characters have been in love before this movie, that they've had this relationship
from the first scene.
That's hard to do.
Yeah,
when
totally.
you first see two characters together, to believe that they've been in a relationship before, to really cement that love and intimacy is there. Like right from the first scene, you get it. You're like, oh wow, like this is so like emotional for both of them, what they're going through, and you really just feel that. And that's really hard to do. So I feel like that was a really thing they did really well in this movie.
Yeah. Like, as opposed to a scene where you, like, have to build intimacy, like getting two actors to pretend like they're falling in love, as opposed to, like, saying, like, all right, you've already been in love. Because when you've been, like, together with somebody for such a long time, you have all these, like that moment, we laughed about it, where they get out of the cab in New York, and she's, like, angry at the cabbie for driving really fast, and she freaks out. And he's just kind of, like, really casual, like a boyfriend, just kind of like, geez, you know, like, you
stop
could...
freaking out.
Stop freaking out. Like, I've got some anger techniques that you could...
Typical, like, guy, like, not reading the moment and not keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah.
In that moment. But there's a negative part to that scene. While I really do enjoy that scene, I think it's fun when she says the "you zip it." I love that moment.
It takes us out of Betty's character.
Yeah, we see some like real life from Liv Tyler's performance. That's honestly not in the rest of her performance.
She's a bit of a bimbo.
Yeah. That was the one time when she actually shows
weird
some, like,
and disconnected.
anger, and it's like that's you don't act like that in the whole rest of this movie.
You're just kind of whisper talking to the rest of the movie.
She's a little bit. She's a little bit. I don't even know the character's name in King Kong. You know, like.
Yeah. I wouldn't say she's that. Well. Maybe
it's not that bad, but it's because we see her acting with like Bruce Banner, we see her acting with Edward Norton, and like having that dynamic. But when she's with Hulk, it's straight up. Also, where is that like canyon in Virginia that they go to? He whisks her away after like the army fight, and they like hide in a cave. That's straight up like a King Kong moment.
Also, she's supposed to be like a scientist, but she's just his love interest in this movie. She doesn't do anything
sciencey. Even when they get to Samuel Stearns' like laboratory, Mr. Blue, like she doesn't do anything but like hop on top of him and calm it down.
You never believe that she was a scientist. I mean,
she doesn't act like it. She doesn't ever like say anything sciencey.
Yeah, she doesn't assist with
them
in any way.
It's like we're told she's a scientist, but we're never shown it.
Yeah.
Back to good stuff.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
What do you got, Kevin? Do you have anything? I know. So you like the movie the least of us.
Yes.
So
I think the end fight scene, that was it for me. Their relationship. Besides that, man, this movie. The other thing is that this movie led to more movies. That's another good thing.
It exists so we can get more things than we like better than the thing we just watched.
So badly that they just stopped the whole
shut
project.
The Marvel universe down. Thanks.
I really love the attempted like antidote scene where they like suppress the episode.
Yeah, that was impressive.
The special effects in that scene, I was actually really impressed by. Like the seeing the Hulk trying to Hulk out, but there's still like pieces of like Edward Norton's Bruce Banner in there. I think the special effects in that scene are great, and I think Liv Tyler's actually really good in that scene too, helping to calm him down.
Yeah,
I really like that scene.
I'll say so for my stuff. It's kind of already been hit all over, but final action shot, like final fight. It's cool. That's what we want in the movie. I was kind of talking about how we haven't seen something. We get like Hulk takes down the big guys in his other movies, like in Ragnarok, he takes down the big wolf. But if you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok yet, get on
Spoilers.
it.
Hulk fights a wolf.
There's a giant wolf. He fights him.
It's better than this movie.
That one fight.
Can confirm.
But actually, but like apart. Like, we haven't gotten to see... In Age of Ultron, he fights Tony in the Hulkbuster suit. But in this movie, we see a guy who's the same size as Hulk, similar powers, and we just get to see them kind of rampage it up.
Wail on each other, which is true. That is a great part, where they're just going at it.
But it's also part of a greater superhero movie cliche, where the villain is just the evil counterpart
of the hero.
That's true. Hero. When that comes from comics, it's not even like a movie thing.
Yeah, it is, but it's just honestly a cliche at this point.
Are you upset about that? Because we just saw that in Black Panther.
Well, we just saw that in
Iron Man
as well.
That's true. Yeah,
that's just like Ant-Man is a very boring example of that.
Oh man, that Ant-Man villain is so forgettable.
Yellow Jacket sucks.
Yeah,
I think it's just easy to do, Ant-Man. So that's why it's been done so many times. Because it's like, all right, so here we got the hero. The villain's just going to be the bad side of the hero, and it's just something that's easy for the audience to understand, and so
it's easy for the writer to write when they're starting it.
Yeah, they're like, okay, so I'll just take the good parts of my hero and just twist them a little bit, and now we got the bad guy, and we're done.
But Killmonger in Black Panther is a great example of that, of creating a compelling character,
of doing it well.
Yes.
We feel like he's not just like the flip side of the coin,
because visually, even
cheap sense.
Philosophically, that movie pulls it off, even though visually it may not pull that off as well as it does philosophically.
Do you know what film does this, like, just flips this whole thing on its head? Is Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Oh yeah,
at the very end,
so good.
He beats like the final boss, and then like a Nega version of himself, Nega Scott shows up, and then they just don't even fight.
And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna get coffee." Funny. He's a great guy. We have so much in common.
That movie's awesome.
That movie's great.
So
I wish that movie done better.
I liked the character mode. I like Edward Norton. How he looks, and I like all the kind of stuff. Like we see him, we do see him doing some science stuff. What was that?
I like all his Patagonia wardrobe.
Yeah,
and lots of Coca-Cola in this movie too.
Yeah. Lots of Coca-Cola. Lots of Verizon.
I like how we see him trying to fight being the Hulk and that kind of thing. I was throwing shade at him earlier. I like General Ross. I like his acting.
There's a couple scenes I like. But when he just descends into spouting normal general nonsense that only belongs in a Transformers film, it's just
take him down.
Yeah.
When he's at the end drinking, he's like, reload. So stupid.
There's such like the serious cliche in the university fight scene where the military confronts him, where he's like, give him everything you got, and it's people firing machine guns, and then it's not working. So he's like, where's that 50 cal? And then they bring out a 50 cal, and then he's like, all right, get the sonic waves or whatever. And they come out with sonic waves. And then he's like, where's my air support and helicopter? It's like,
give me a gunship.
Yeah, he's just like escalating. Like,
why don't we just start with
some
something?
more?
But I love the 50 cal moment though, because like the epic like jump that like Humvee does.
That's
over
cool.
that. It's just
That's
like
cool.
America, yeah.
Yeah, but
I love that moment.
General Ross is very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
He's an army general, and that's it. Like,
I feel like they barely do anything with like Betsy in his relationship.
But they
barely.
they try. They just don't
a little
succeed.
bit. But like Black Panther succeeds in like one of their subplots between characters more than they do the main character between an estranged father-daughter, which could be like the heartbeat of this movie.
Because we never see like him feeling
such a
bad that he's like pushing his daughter away.
We see her hating him.
We see her hating him, but we never see his side of it.
But they never really have a moment together.
Yeah.
They have very few moments, but they just suck and are boring.
Yeah, they have the one moment where after they've like finally captured him or something in New York.
Yeah, and she's like, never speak to me again. I hate you. You're dead to me, kind of thing.
But that's not interesting.
I know, but we could have seen him react to that.
Yeah.
Like instead of just like, I would have put you in handcuffs too.
Yeah, like it's not like he doesn't feel bad about it. He doesn't feel like he's like if we had a lot
of that is in
the
performance and the lack of like stuff there is for him in the script.
Yeah, but if we had a scene where he's just like like musing like, man, I'm losing my daughter. I got to do something to get her back.
Yeah,
like, even just something like that would have just made him more than just what he is. Just
do you know what does that very well?
What?
Ant-Man.
True.
Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly's
That's
character.
true.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
mine that relationship way more than this movie does.
I'm excited to see that in the new one.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, that movie does it way better than this movie does.
So I think we're just full on into our bash set.
I can talk
we
about
went back into it.
You have a few more positives?
Yeah.
I think I do too, but I'm starting to. I think at one point you guys just started to pull me deeper into the mire of.
I love Hulk putting out the helicopter fire at the end battle scene.
Yes,
when he slaps his hands together and like takes out the helicopter fire. That's one of my favorite Hulk moments.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit more mixed, but I love the Hulk smash moment. Like when he says Hulk smash, and it's just very well delivered.
Yes.
But it sucks that the Hulk smash in the movie is used to get Abomination's foot stuck in the ground.
Yeah, like it doesn't.
It's so stupid.
You want him to just punch him or something, but instead he's just like Hulk smash, and he smashes the ground, and this convenient crack just comes up and grabs him by the foot, and it's like,
yeah.
Come on, just go ham on him. Just like start punching. Like that's what you want when he says Hulk smash. Like that is his line. That's his thing. You want him to just start wailing at somebody at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
the heart counter. Like the heart.
Yeah,
like,
that
monitor.
is cool. Yeah.
I thought that's a really cool thing for throughout the whole film. Like,
to kind of add the tension.
Yeah.
It really helped to add
it's always there. You can hear it beeping.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's funny in some points and tense in others. And
It really allows you to know where Bruce Banner is.
Yeah.
Like how close he is to hulking out in those moments. And I think that's actually a really smart thing that the movie does.
They use
really
it
enjoy.
in that final end scene where you're like, okay, I'll say that for a good positive. I like finally where it's almost hard to see him come to this place because like the performance is pretty flat, but I like how at the end we see like he's moved from I hate this, I just want to get rid of it, I want to cure it, to I accept the Hulk for what it is, and maybe I don't want to control it, but like I'm not going to run from it, I'm going to face it, because he's in that cabin in the woods and you see him like he's like he's sitting there, same meditative pose, but you hear like the heartbeat like beep beep, it's like going up, and you can tell he's like forcing it to go up. And then his eyes turn green and he like smiles, he's like, heh, got it. Which
is the only development he has as a character the entire movie at the very, very end, which is a little frustrating, but still.
I finally realized that like Avengers plays on that for us. Like if you had any question about like for the people when Avengers came out, they're like, what? So the Hulk can just become the Hulk whenever he wants? It's like, yeah, we actually got that in this movie. Like we got Mark Ruffalo, like when he's like, I'm always angry, and he just turns into the Hulk. We realize he spent time developing that. Like,
yeah, I like the problem is when Hulk starts taking over and not letting Bruce come back.
Yeah,
that's what we see at the end of Age of Ultron and Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, I really
Hashtag not my Hulk movie.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. I love how young the Hulk seems in this movie.
He seems like a
he's
baby.
very like honestly doesn't want to fight.
He's a child. He hits his head on the cave roof.
He keeps trying to run away for a lot of this movie.
Yeah,
and he fights back when people are fighting with him. But like he's very like he's not. Hulk is just learning what love is a little bit, and that's why he responds to Betsy's character because it's the only person in the movie who shows him compassion.
Yeah,
very King Kong.
Yes,
like you get really King, especially in that scene when they're cave. Like it's like, am I watching a different movie right now? Like,
yeah, the cave scene.
Yeah, because King Kong is the same thing. He's learning how to love someone, kind of thing, and yeah.
I think what the movie does a really good job of showing the Hulk at a very young infant stage.
The hard part though is like in that same cave scene, we have just like pretty noticeably bad CGI that hasn't aged well.
Yep.
I will say, it
doesn't even look good compared to some of the stuff in the end fight scene. Like, it doesn't even look good in its own movie compared to some of the other stuff.
No. I will say, like, there's some great, like, one-shots or, like, imagery moments in this film. Mm-hmm. Like, talking about the factory scene at the beginning where we first see him Hulk
flash
out.
grenade
goes. Flash grenade. That was
and you just see the outline of the Hulk in the
smoke.
Grenade.
And
love that.
And that's before you'd really seen him, so you're like, ooh, that's cool. Like, what is that?
There's like, the moment where... on the university, he's on like this glassed, this like windowed bridge, and they throw similar thing. There's smoke. They throw in some gas, and he hulks out in there, and he rips out of the bridge over like this huge field of grass.
But you see him.
Awesome.
He's got that look in his eyes, like that anger, and his eyes just go green. And
you see his hand like against the glass, and it's starting to transform, and it breaks the glass just by being pressed.
I like
against
that
it.
moment a lot.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite aspects about that fight is when Blonsky and Hulk face off for the first time,
and Hulk kicks him.
And even before that, I'm talking when Blonsky's flipping around, like shooting him.
That's cool.
That is true. Those were cool moves.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite action like parts in the movie.
Yeah,
was them like facing off while he's doing like Captain America stuff.
Yeah, and he just like does a back
Matrix flip,
shooting him at the same time.
It felt very like Matrix. Yeah. One of the things that really bugs me about this movie is how General Ross seems to have no accountability.
Which
he could do whatever the frick he wants.
Okay.
And fire off like so much
live rounds in civilian areas.
In freaking New York, and there's no accountability for his actions. He calls in all these military. He just seems to be the god of the military in this movie.
Yeah.
And for him to have to be the face of accountability in Civil War is very weird when there's no accountability for any of his actions in this movie.
All I have to say is New York. Sokovia.
Yeah. But you're no different.
That's that's true.
General Ross is causing so much wanton destruction.
I was trying to imitate his line and where he's just like showing them the video, and then that part where like Captain America's like, "That's enough." Great, because that's all the footage I had.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, they kind of try to address that in Batman versus Superman, how Superman just like destroyed Metropolis in the previous movie, and but I mean, that's something in comic book movies that's just hard to get right, I guess is the word, because you want to have these cool fight scenes, but at the same time, you're like, would that ever actually would they just open up live rounds in the middle of a city?
Yeah.
Just even if there was a monster, would they just call on their helicopters and start shooting their missiles like right in the middle of New York? Like, would that really happen?
With like these apartment buildings.
Yeah, just shooting through apartment buildings.
There's a point where he lowers the helicopter in and he has a guy firing a .50 caliber gun right into apartment buildings.
Yeah, like that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
like
and there are people on the streets.
Yeah.
Like,
which I do enjoy Abomination just throwing them.
We literally
that was
see
cool.
that
was cool.
People getting thrown.
Yeah,
it was very dark and very cool.
I'm expecting Rampage to be like that.
Yeah.
Anybody excited for Rampage?
I am.
Just me?
Yeah.
Did you play that game as a kid?
Yes, I love that game.
I love that game.
I have no connection with the game, and I'm just like, eh.
We'll go to an arcade. We'll hit it up.
It's a great game. What did you think of the villain, like Abomination as a villain, though? Like,
I like him.
Yeah?
Okay,
Blonsky's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
I'd agree with that. 100%.
I like Pulaski. I'm not
Blonsky,
whatever.
You keep wanting him to be more Russian than he is.
It's so forgettable, like military, like
Emil Blonsky.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess he is a comic book character, but I like him. I like seeing his buildup, his like desire for power, and I think the performance is great. And then I like when we finally see him be the monster. he just owns. He's like, I have the power. I've got it. This is fun. He looks like a monster who's being a monster and having fun, just terrorizing people.
Yeah,
right. And I'm okay with a good guy going and putting him down.
He's basically Doomsday from BVS, like same design, same function, everything.
No. Doomsday is basically Abomination.
Right, but we saw it in the big screen Abomination first, and he's way more entertaining than Doomsday is in BVS.
That's true.
And I think he looks better than Doomsday does.
You think he looks better?
He's a cool character design. I do like his character
design.
That.
I do. Yeah.
And just the whole progression of him throughout the movie is believable.
Yeah, but I feel like towards the third act, when he just starts going completely power crazy, I feel like that is more of a swift jump because we got to get to the end.
Yep.
But I do like the slow build up for him being the soldier who's like getting old and he can't keep up.
Yeah.
To
it's
eventually getting to the point where he gets more power. But when he instantly just goes like nuts, it's a little faster.
Well, it's kind of like a drug addiction.
Yeah,
like he needs
I see
it.
that.
I think we could have shown it in a more like.
Well, they had the scene where he's looking
more
in the
logical
mirror,
progression,
where he's looking in the mirror and his body starts doing weird things. And I think that's
what see like he's like sweating.
Yeah, I think he starts going insane.
Yeah,
but I think we could have seen that more and in a smarter way.
Maybe.
I don't agree with that.
I think we did as much as we could with what we got.
Yeah.
And I like that scene at the end where he's holding the gun to the guy. Like, they've already gotten the Hulk, and you see him, he's smacking Bruce Banner. He's like, where is it? Show me that. He wants to fight the Hulk, right? He wants to go toe to toe with this guy. And then he's pissed off when the Hulk won't come out. And so after they've taken Bruce Banner away and he stays there with the scientist and he's like, he holds a gun to his head and he's like, I don't care what you have to do. Like, make me that.
Because it's like an adrenaline rush for him. Yeah. Like, he needs that to feel powerful.
A power junkie.
Yeah.
I love the line he says, like, when Ross is first kind of explaining the whole situation to him. And he's like, how old are you, Blonsky? And he's like, I'm like 39 or whatever. And he's like, it catches up with you. And he's like, he says, imagine it like if I had my experience, like, in a body that's 10 years younger.
That's a great line. Yeah.
I think that defines his character and what
I wish there was more stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really wish there was. I think it would have strengthened his character a lot.
Well, let's
How do you guys compare him to Obadiah Stane?
Better.
No.
Ooh,
I go Obadiah Stane. We just recently watched Ant-Man and I would go 100% Obadiah Stane over this guy.
I think Obadiah Stane because of his relationship with Tony Stark. That's why I like him more as a villain.
Jeff Bridges. Like, even that alone puts him over this.
I don't know. This guy is also a great actor. I can't remember his name right now.
But Tim Roth.
He is great, too, but Obadiah Stane is so much more interesting and so much more entertaining to me.
Yeah.
And I understand his motivations in his relationships so much more.
That's true. I just like the villain better. Like, I like Abomination better
than Warmonger.
Warmonger. Because I just felt like Warmonger...
And fight scene.
Yeah, Warmonger's boring. Like, he doesn't do anything.
He's another villain. He's another villain who's like the dark bigger version of the hero.
That's what we're saying. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kind of narrow it down to maybe like one final critique for each of us. Maybe something that we thought like maybe would have made this film, but it ended up kind of breaking it. For me, it's plot points. It's things like them firing, live rounds in civilian territory, or just like, wait, so how did they find them? Like when the military's tracking
Culver
them
University.
And stuff. Yeah,
it's like something with like Doc Samson is the one who tips off General Ross, but then that's a very poor excuse to me because he's like, I wondered why. Like, Betsy never talked about you. Never understand why. Why would he feel the need to call out her estranged dad? How did he even get like his phone number? Why did he bring in the military? Like, it's very poor reasoning.
How does Bruce get from Mexico to like the United States with no money and no resources, but he can just cross the border like super easily at the time that this movie was filmed? Like, heck no, tech no. And just like, I just think like in the first half of the film, tonally, it's like this Jason Bourne man on the run type film, and then in the last half, it's like full on comic book. We were kind of saying the same things about Iron Man, but I think even more in this movie.
Iron Man, we're more like our critiques of Iron Man are nitpicks, compared to our problems with this film.
That was like like the tonality was the same throughout.
The tonality shift
Here-
that we talk about in the third act of Iron Man is minuscule compared to just the wonkiness of the plot.
Yeah,
of
it became
this film.
Jason Bourne. Then it became something else.
Winky comic book fan.
Was
and then
it
it became
science?
then
Like-
it became like Monster Smash. Like yeah.
So for me, it's like, yeah, you're right. There's like King Kong. There's like Jason Bourne. There's like some weird science. Like,
It's weird
where
amalgamations
will I
of
find the
things we've seen.
cure? Yeah, and so for me, none of it's cohesive, and it doesn't. It makes a movie stumble for me.
Yeah,
and like the
doesn't
tone.
give a satisfying,
Yeah.
a satisfying whole.
Yeah. What about you, Kevin? You've got serious shade and beef with this movie. You're number one.
Of the things, again, I'd say General Ross is always, just as a character, even in the comics, has been a weak point for me. I feel like he's a hoorah army guy, which is boring, which doesn't show anything.
It doesn't paint the military in a realistic light.
No, it doesn't, and it's just the way his character doesn't. His character develops even less than Bruce Banner does. Yeah. At least in Bruce Banner, at the end, there's some sort of character change. But I think he is by far the weakest part of this movie. There was some good performances. There was. Yeah. But I feel like if they could have made him, as I said, more sympathetic or just something better than I'm the army guy, I will go and shoot the Hulk until the Hulk is dead because that is what I do as an army man. Like,
and some more motivation.
Yeah,
I think the way to really beef up his character and to make him more compelling is to lean into his strange daughter relationship.
Yes, they could have done so much with that.
There's
and
so much dramatic potential there
and
that's
they
just
do
not on
so
screen.
Little. So I think that was one of the weakest part of the movies for me personally.
Totally.
How about yours?
I don't really have one thing, one general critique that really ruins the movie.
What
for
about
me.
the winky stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of wink fan service that's just cheesy,
Stretchy
off-putting,
purple pants.
That's just irritating, and I wish it was. Yeah, there's just putting Stark logos on thing, putting Shield logos on thing. I feel like a lot, like I've said, a lot of the MCU tie-ins feel like it was done in post.
It takes you out of the movie, and you're like, it's kind of like, this is a superhero movie.
I got my one thing.
You've seen the comics, or
General Ross drinking a green alcoholic beverage at the end of the movie. It's so weird.
Reload.
Yeah,
reload.
God,
who says that?
All right, let's talk about where we
MCU ranking.
Yeah, where we think.
Kevin,
it
do you happen to
MCU?
have a list in your head of your own personal ranking?
This
of the
movie is
MCU
on the
films?
last part of that list.
Oh,
I know
sure.
it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
This movie is by far my least favorite of all the movies.
So, before watching this movie, the four bottom films of my MCU list was Thor coming in at 15, 16 being Thor: The Dark World, 17 being Incredible Hulk, with Iron Man 3 being dead last at number 18. After watching this movie, Incredible Hulk goes straight to the bottom.
Yeah, I
had it 17, it's going down to 18.
My list is pretty similar to yours. So you said Thor: The Dark World.
I said Thor: The Dark World, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 3.
Okay, so I have,
with the Incredible Hulk now being at the bottom.
I have Iron Man 2 in between The Dark World and Incredible Hulk.
Really?
Because
I think that's going to go up for you.
I think it will. I kind of hope it will. I remember not being incredibly impressed with that film.
I just rewatched it myself, and I don't think it's as bad as you think.
But it's so
okay.
Yeah. It's Tony Stark being on screen, and that's entertaining.
I mean,
enough.
that will always be entertaining no matter what.
It's
also Sam
I've
Rockwell.
honestly only
Sam
seen it once
Rockwell,
all the
War
way
Machine.
through.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
So, but I think same thing. Iron Man 3 is at the bottom, and because for so long that movie, plot wise and character wise, I felt like it took huge leaps. Not just from the comics, but also with the character we'd been developing with Tony. Mm-hmm. That I was like, what's happening here? I thought it was a dud. But Hulk's at the bottom now. Sorry, man.
I didn't want it to be this way.
No,
but I understand why a lot of people throw shade at this.
And here's the
movie
thing: we can say it's a sign of the times. We can say it's that sort of thing. But the proof is in the pudding. Iron Man has aged well. Incredible
really well
Hulk
in
has
comparison
not.
to this.
Yes.
Especially considering Iron Man came out 2 months before this movie.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah. So it
Even just
honestly,
visually, it's so much. It just looks so much more contemporary than this stylized version of the Hulk.
Yeah.
Hulk
Sorry,
sad.
man. And I think that's where we're going to end it. Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for being with us. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, hopefully we can have you again sometime.
What's your next least favorite, Kevin?
Ooh, probably Thor: The Dark World.
Okay, we'll bring him back for that.
Yeah. That'll be it.
Yeah.
So you can throw more shade.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Just here for the bad ones.
And for all you listeners, thanks for joining us this week on Ultimate Fan Podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all your social medias, YouTube. You can send us an email with your thoughts or comments, or comment on our socials.
What's our email?
ultimatefanpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, let us know your thoughts about the Hulk. The Incredible Hulk, not the original one. I mean,
we'd love to talk more about
sure.
this movie with you. The
Yeah.
things you disagreed with us on. Just
Yeah.
general
Do you
points
like
that
the
you
movie?
liked me. Yeah.
if you think it's great, tell us why, and we'll interact with you. We won't tell you wrong. We want to know. We want to have more of a conversation about it. So,
Yeah. Be looking ahead to our next episode. We're going to tackle Iron Man 2, which I'm really stoked about.
Yeah, maybe my perspective will change. Well, or not.
If Incredible Hulk is any example of that, probably not, but I'm still remaining optimistic and hopeful.
Yeah. Once again, thanks for joining us on Ultimate Fan Podcast. I'm Ian Unger.
And I'm Logan Flanagan.
See you next time.